Hi, Okasa College Prep. This is Dr. Bailey with Miss Lee, our counselor, and today's topic is the Suicide Prevention Month, which is September. Hi, Miss Lee.
Hi, Dr. Bailey. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Great.
So I guess let's start off with when is the best time to talk about suicide prevention?
What a great question, because as we transition our students into middle into high school, students are going through hard times and they might be under stress when they start their harder, tougher classes. So I think it's important to talk about some of those risk factors. If your kid is just even asking any questions at all, you definitely need to talk to them about it, even if they're younger than 8 years old. Given that roughly half of our mental health disorders start by mid teens, parents need to have a plan for how to talk to their kids about suicide as soon as it's appropriate.
Okay, thank you. How do we talk to our students about, our children about suicide?
It's difficult, but I would definitely recommend not avoiding the conversation. So just keeping it simple. If your kid is young, using short answers. And for elementary age kids, I would say just being honest and explaining how depression is a disease and how one can seek for help. Of course, always emphasize that depression is sad. Parents also need to ask their kids if they've ever had thoughts of suicide or if any of their friends have at all. Don't fear talking to them or asking them. You just want them to trust you and feel safe so that they can talk to you about this serious topic. Again, just don't avoid. And if they're a teenager, then they already know what a mental health condition is. So this conversation can look like what they need to know how to do when that time comes, if that comes, or if a friend is also having those thoughts. So a parent can also know how to navigate that conversation in a way where if their friends are the ones that are feeling suicidal or having suicidal ideations, then parents can know, okay, here are some resources that you can tell your friends, or maybe you should get in contact with the school employee, because as we all know, school employees are all safe people to discuss these topics with and mandated reporters.
Yeah.
Also, my tips are to seek professionals who can guide you and your family. There's a suicide crisis lifeline. They changed the number now to just being 988. The hotline is also completely anonymous as well, so you can just call. You can ask them just for resources. I can ask them. It could be anyone. They won't take your name or address down. They won't know how to look for your number unless you share it. So knowing how to look for these types of resources, as well as seeking mental health professionals, could be one of the ways that you can navigate through the thoughts that you're having.
I mean, this is a tough topic, right?
Yes.
It's
It's never easy, but you just have to talk about it.
I loved how you said don't avoid it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it can be overwhelming for people to think about, it, all while you and I don't have children of our own, we have children that we love in
Yes.
our lives, and to contemplate the person that we love with all of our being is contemplating hurting themselves can feel overwhelming, right?
Yes, of course.
But I think that I love how you said you just don't avoid it. Just
Mm-hmm.
be honest.
Yes, just being honest, talking to your child about it. If they're asking questions, then they might be wondering about it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're thinking about it.
Yeah.
Some people are just curious, and I think that everyone deserves to know what it really is, so that way those are preventative measures.
I think that if you don't know what to say, I feel like it might be good to just, like you said, let them ask the questions.
Yes, exactly. Let them ask the questions. And also, that's why I wanted to break it down by the age of the student. If your kid is younger, you can simply just, sum it up to this person died, but death is really sad, et cetera, et cetera. But if they're elementary school, you can start to kind of gauge and let them know that depression is a disease. Introduce that as well as talking about maybe mental health disorders can affect the way that you think and cloud your mind and judgment. But then, and when they're in high school, you definitely want to get nitty gritty and let them know, hey, this is a disease. If you know someone that is experiencing these type of thoughts, or if you are, then we need to know ASAP.
Mm-hmm.
But just having a conversation, again, you can use different, like I like to use examples. Like I like to share famous people that have committed suicide. So I usually use like Robin Williams. You can mention Kate Spade, um, Anthony Bourdain. Those are all historical figures that students usually know who they are. And so you can mention this by saying, hey, these people all have, all are icons, and they all don't look like they're experiencing some type of disease or unhealthy thinking, but they have experienced this and they have gone through suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And they might ask you, okay, well, what type of thoughts do they look like? And you can say this is usually, an invisible disease.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you need to look for these type of risk factors, these type of warning signs.
And I think it's important, like what we tell the students too, is that if someone is feeling that way or talking about that, like
Mm-hmm.
one of their friends, we tell them that you're not a therapist.
Exactly. Yes.
The student is not supposed to be able to handle that.
Exactly.
And even with you as parents,
Mm-hmm.
you're not to be able to. You don't have to handle that on your own. You need to
Exactly.
seek help with a medical professional that knows
Yes.
how to process it and evaluate the dangerousness of it should your student ever encounter or desires what we call suicidal ideation.
Yes, definitely. And thank you for emphasizing the medical professional part, because I am also not a medical professional.
That's right.
Everything that I have shared are just resources and just years of looking and tips and things like that, advice that I get from the internet, but also just organizations that share that to us as school counselors. So I share this with love, and just for parents to be aware of how these conversations can go. And if you do not know what to talk about, then that is totally okay, as long as you know how to look for the answers, as long as you know how to support your student by guiding them in the right direction. Yeah. Maybe you can send them to speak to somebody at a professional, at a hospital, or if they're asking questions that you might not know, there's the hotline. So there's a lot of different resources for you to know how to navigate this.
And I mean, we're here, both Miss Lee and myself are trained to what we call, I mean, it's the triage level of treatment.
Mm-hmm.
We know how to kind of do an assessment and then we know who to call when we need to be able to address an issue of a student kind of who's in it deep.
Yep.
But if it's not school time or school hours, you can always go to the emergency room.
Yes, definitely. Again, we work at schools because we want to protect our kids. And I always tell my kids, hey, if you're coming in here to speak to me, what we talk about is confidential. But if you mention that you're hurting yourself, or that you're going to hurt others, or someone is hurting you, then I need to know, and I will be sharing this. So all students that come and sit in my office, they know the guidelines, and they know that that guideline also covers the topic of suicide ideation.
Mm-hmm. That's good stuff. On a lighter note,
yes.
Our September is this suicide prevention activity. You've planned some cool events or activities that we're doing recurrently. And you want to describe those a little bit?
Of course. I mean, I know we're almost actually through September, and we already kind of rolled out a suicide activity earlier this month, but I want to do another one. So let me describe the activity a little bit. I've used this at multiple schools that I used to work at before, and they've been very successful. But what I do is I allow students to spread their messages on campus through a cutout heart. And so I've kindly asked our associated student body to help me with cutting out a bunch of little hearts. And I just table out during lunchtime with the hearts, and students can come by and they have several choices. They can write either their own positive message to spread joy, because the whole point is to prevent suicide. And so we see these messages. You never know what that message might send out to somebody who might be feeling negative or low on that specific day. So spreading their message, they can write their own customized message. Second choice is I've rolled out a sheet in which they can identify any risk factors or a warning sign. So that can look like, giving away a prized possession, or sleeping too much or sleeping too little. These are all factors and symptoms. And another option is that they can simply, if they don't know what to write, they can just simply write 988, which is the suicide hotline number. And those are all options for them to participate in. And so we're excited to roll out another one this week. And students can come by during lunchtime, pick up a heart, they write their message down, and then we post it all together on a large poster board.
All right. Thank you, Miss Lee. This is a tough topic.
Yes.
But a good one to talk about.
Yes, definitely.
Because your kids have probably already know about it, and they've probably already talked about it with their friends. So yeah, it's time for them to get your wisdom on that topic.
Exactly. And then a last thing I just thought about this is I know, again, students like to joke around a lot, and oftentimes we might hear students, or even through text or just in person, they might tell their friends, hey, just go kill yourself. Or they might even mention like, I'm going to kill myself. So those things should not be taken lightly. If you hear your child say anything of that sort, of that nature, it's important to address it right away and correct that and say, hey, I know you might be joking, but that is not the right way to go about that. It's not right to joke about this because somebody may take that seriously. I just want to leave on that note.
Absolutely. And don't write it off as just a joke. Like
yes,
exactly.
Exactly.
Take a moment, take the time, because it could be something. It could be something that's just slipping out there. Mm-hmm. It's worth the conversation.
Exactly.
Yep.
All Perfect.
Right. One note though, we may actually air this podcast after this event happens.
Okay.
So don't hold us to the activity as happening this week.
Yes. But, all right. Hopefully this week.
Yeah. The podcast may come out next week.
So. That's true. Okay.
Okay. Great. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.